Hi, I am Natalie, and I am so grateful that you ladies are here today. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a very important conversation that we are about to have, and I hope that you can minimize all distraction. Just put everything away and just spend the next hour or so here with me. Focus, just pretend that we are in a nutrition consultation because the information that I am about to share with you really is game changing. And especially when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to cravings, this is something that's, really gonna open your eyes up to the truth, to the science of how lasting weight loss really, really works. Okay? So I'm gonna get rid of this distraction here. I just wanted to say a quick hi, let you know that I'm really here, that I'm a real person, but we're gonna go on to review the agenda quickly before we get started with the actual program. What we're gonna do is we're gonna look at whether or not you are in the right place, and because my program and what I'm teaching is not for everybody. And we're also gonna look at, why exactly diets have failed you in the past over and over again. So we're gonna look at these major truths. Then we're gonna I'm gonna teach you how food actually works in your body and when you eat it and how that affects your fat loss efforts, okay? Then I'm gonna break down the exact 3 steps that I use using all of that background information on food to help my clients lose fat faster without giving up chocolate, of course. And then in the end, we're gonna wrap it all up. I'm gonna recap and just give you a brief summary before I end today's webinar. Okay, so now I'm really gonna stop my video. We're just gonna focus on what's important here. And I really look forward to getting started. All right. So we've done the overview, and just a heads up, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information with you today. So if you start to feel a bit overwhelmed, it's okay and it's normal and it's expected. It's what I want for you because I want to give you as much information as I can today. So if you get to that point where you feel overwhelmed, just take a deep breath and just try to listen and remember whatever you can, okay? So let me see, let's go on here. If you stay until the end, if you listen until the end, you're going to leave this webinar knowing exactly what you need to do to start losing fat and keep it off right away and in real life. And that's why you're here, right? And I know it sounds unrealistic and maybe a little bit impossible, but that's just what we're going to do, okay? Now, there's no magic pill. So my further promise to you is that there is no such thing as a magic pill. There's no such thing as 20 pounds in 10 days. From my end, there's no lies, there's no manipulation, and there's no false promises, okay? I would never offer an overnight miracle, again, because there is no such thing. And I promise you that in order to achieve success, you need a system. That's the number one thing that you need for lasting fat loss, okay? Your success or lack thereof is based on you making a decision. What you need to know is that having a proven system to follow is the foundation for lasting fat loss, okay? So I'll be teaching you 3 steps of my Smarter Fat Loss system today to get you started on the right track. Now, you might be thinking I'm self-sabotaging here, but I'm not. I'm just telling it like it is because you've been receiving false information long enough, okay? And as point 3 states, no lies, manipulation, or false promises from my end, okay? So let's go on with who am I? You might not know me yet, so let me just take that moment to introduce myself. My name is Natalie. I am a recovered sugar addict, and I'm also a registered holistic nutritionist and the founder of Natalie's Nutrition and creator of the Smarter Fat Loss System, a system through which I help women that want to lose weight and keep it off, a simple way of eating that eliminates cravings and doesn't involve stomach growls, sad little salads, or even giving up chocolate. Because what would the world be without chocolate, right? So I'm sure there's some other chocolate lovers in this room here. So I tend to know that I am not alone. Now, my mission is something that I'm very passionate about. I want to teach you a simple and delicious way of eating that puts a stop to carb cravings and will set you up for long-term fat loss. Okay? Now, as it tends to be, things started out a little bit differently for me. When I started my career as a holistic nutritionist, so I was fresh out of school, I thought that it was my duty as a nutritionist to get everyone to eat local, organic, and seasonal food, ideally from the farmer's market, to reach optimum health and happiness. And you know what? This is a really nice goal to have for one's health, but the reality is that a lot of people have much greater foundational problems to deal with first. Physiological problems like cravings, slow metabolisms, weight management, diabetes, right? Prediabetes, metabolic syndrome. I mean, the list goes on. And I couldn't turn a blind eye to it, especially not after the knowledge I had acquired at school and seeing all the fluff that is being taught out there to quote unquote solve the problems. Unrealistic things like people telling, like coaches telling you to just use more willpower, to just count your calories and eat less and follow super restrictive dieting and doing tons of cardio, of course. And you know what? It's no fun. But worst of all, it doesn't even work that way. Now, I just shared with you that I was a sugar addict, but I haven't shared my full story. The truth is, I was obese. Now, you couldn't tell by just looking at me. You see, at 6 foot tall, I have height on my side. And truth be told, I never had more than 30 pounds of extra weight on me. But my body fat percentage was 35%. Clinically, I was obese. I was skinny fat, and I felt like crap. I was obsessed with food. I was frustrated and insecure. My clothes wouldn't fit me anymore. I hated looking at myself in the mirror. Everything jiggled. Buying new clothes was a nightmare, and I still remember when I didn't fit into the largest size of pants at my favorite store anymore. Oh, man. I just wish that I knew then what I know now. Because now I eat more than ever, and my cravings are gone. There's no need for willpower. I get to enjoy chocolate every day, and I put away what I don't want to eat, which was unheard of before. My stomach is flat, and my love handles are gone, even though I enjoy the occasional pizza, right? And that's because I know how to fire up my metabolism by turning on my fat-burning hormones. And that's what I want for you. Food freedom, confidence about your body and your decisions around food. Not to obsess about food all day or to have food control you. And that's why I want to teach women a simple and delicious way of eating that puts an end to carb cravings so they can finally see the scale move in the right direction without giving up chocolate. So after nutrition school, what helped me overcome my cravings and lose fat was put to the ultimate test when my best friend, Catherine, came up to me and said, Natalie, you're now a nutritionist. Help me lose weight and keep it off. And you know what? I was terrified. You see, Catherine had tried every diet in the book since she was a teenager. And she's spent, or I should say, wasted so much money on the latest fad diets, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, specialized doctors, diet gurus, gym memberships, personal trainers, you name it. She did it. And unfortunately, she knew she wasn't always being good to her body. But this is what happened with Catherine after we started working together. She lost 50 pounds in 6 months. Again, no overnight miracle. She put in the work, but she got there. She said, I've tried every diet in the book and saw extreme dieting as the only solution to weight loss. I'd reach my goal, but would then be unable to maintain it, yo-yoing back and forth for over 20 years until recently Natalie broke the cycle. She saved my life and my sanity. So this is Catherine on the left, obviously the before, and on the right, it's her after. And this is, again, before and after. She had, so the picture on the left is after her second child. It was one of the heaviest she had ever been. And this is her a year later even. And I'm happy to say that even now in 2019, Catherine is still looking spectacular. And you know what, we don't even work together anymore because she just knows what to do. She follows the system. She knows the steps. She understands how food works in her body. And she's able to keep the weight off, right? So that's my goal for you. Okay, and what I really want to highlight here is that Catherine is not different. She just learned and implemented the steps of the system. Okay, so to deliver on the promise I made to you a few slides back, that huge promise, we're going to do 3 things today. You're going to learn why willpower is not the reason you keep failing. Second, you're going to learn which foods create hormonal fat loss and hormonal fat burning. And no, it really doesn't have much to do with how many calories they have. And 3, I'm going to make sure that you understand the biggest mistake that most women make when it comes to starting a fat loss program. And also how you can avoid it. Does that make sense? Anybody else here as excited as I am? Because this is like, I love doing this webinar, so I always get super excited. So I sure hope that you are as well, because I'm really, really excited to teach it to you, okay? So let's start here. There's a reason that every diet you try works at first, then completely backfires, and you gain more weight. And that reason is what we're going to focus on tonight, and it's a total game changer, okay? That reason isn't that your body is somehow different or that you don't have enough willpower to stay away from the chips or cookies or whatever your guilty pleasure is at 9 p.m. every night after dinner. It's simply that you aren't eating the right foods. You aren't eating the foods that support the hormonal state of fat loss. And it's that simple. Look, I know it sounds, like a bit much, but I know it's true. And this is based on science. It's not woo-woo. Learning how food works and how to use that to hit your goals is a huge game changer. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Because if we can figure that out, there's no more mystery. We always know what to eat. We hit our goals, life gets easier. So let's figure out, first of all, if you are in the right place. If the system that I teach my clients is going to work for you the way it did for me and continues to do so for my clients. Because my method, my way of eating is not going to be for everyone. It's for a very specific group of women who have tried everything. Women who have spent the time, they've logged the hours, and they have unfortunately also spent a small fortune on dieting and supplements and all of the things out there, but have never been able to make it work for real life. So let's spend a bit of time and figure out if you're here in the right place, because I don't want to waste your time, okay? So you are in the right place if nothing is working for you. Eating less and exercising more just isn't working for you. You're also in the right place if you're still gaining or maintaining no matter how little you eat. Slide change. All right. So Yeah, if you're making the same mistake I was, then you're definitely in the right place. I thought that the less I ate and the more I exercised, the skinnier I would get. Sounds familiar, right? I thought it was as simple as calories in minus calories out. Again, familiar. As long as the calories out were bigger, I'd lose weight. Makes sense, right? Anyone else? I'm sure this is going through your heads like, oh yeah, Natalie, I've been there. I mean, it's pretty common thinking, right? But I was so wrong, and it still pains me today. I learned that calories were a very small part to a very big picture. You see, it's not just about calories. Whether you burn or store fat is determined by hormones, not by energy in versus energy out. And yes, that plays a small role, but the type of energy in is way more important because the food you're eating and the particular way it digests is completely integral to setting the stage for the right hormones to be in control. And I learned that starvation mode is a real thing. Your metabolism literally downregulates when you don't eat enough. If you add exercise into that equation, you can actually start to gain weight since your stress hormones spike. I had that happen many times. And I have that happen to clients all the time before they start working with me. Anyone else? Does this resonate with you too? Yeah. So think about that, okay? This is really important to keep that in mind. Now, third, you are in the right place if you're eating healthy, following all the diet rules, and still not losing weight. So big mistake number 3 for me was thinking that healthy food automatically meant fat loss. This was one of my biggest mistakes and the most frustrating because I felt like I was doing everything right. I was eating ridiculously healthy foods and still got stuck feeling gross, exhausted, and above all, like I was missing out on all the good things that I loved, like chocolate. So we're going to spend some serious time talking about this because this is a huge gap in the industry and in any other diet that you have tried. Now, you're also in the right place if you crave carbs every day and your willpower is just not enough. If at the end of the day you've got no willpower left to avoid those chips or cookies or whatever your guilty pleasure is. And this, ladies, was my nemesis. And it's one of the biggest diet fails for everyone I've worked with. The belief that it's normal to have to avoid certain foods using willpower. And that success depends on the strength of our willpower. Now, listen carefully. I learned that cravings actually have a physiological basis, that I craved carbs because my blood sugar was unbalanced and my body was desperately trying to achieve balance. My mind was blown, but I know it's true because carb cravings, no matter how bad, really do disappear when your blood sugar becomes balanced. I see it happen time and time again, and honestly, I'm always blown away by it. I even see it in myself, not just clients, okay? Now, isn't this the best? All of this time you spent thinking that these cravings were all about your lack of willpower, your mood, and your likes and dislikes, when there's something so basic and easily controlled driving them. I want you to imagine how good it feels to finally be in control of cravings. Just take a moment for that. What would change in your life? How would you feel? How would that impact other areas of your life? No more cravings. Okay? Check out, I wanted to share this client testimonial with you from Veronica. She says, I'm a picky eater who does not like a lot of veggies and other stuff, and I'm a sugar addict. It's horrible. I really feel the results, which are no cravings, no hunger feeling until lunchtime. Before I felt hungry every hour. I love the recipes. It makes my life much easier and delicious, and they work. Cravings really decrease. And just so you know, Veronica's cravings were so bad that she used to eat sugar by the spoonful whenever she craved something. Okay? So you're not alone. You're not the worst case. We're all in this together. So finally, you are in the right place if you're so sick and tired of the bullshit out there. You don't actually even believe that anything will work anymore, but you haven't completely given up yet. And that's why you're here. You're listening to this free webinar. No matter how sick and tired of it all you are, you still want to lose weight, and there's no shame in that. So if after listening to my big mistakes, you're still here and ready to learn, that means that you know you're in the right place. And I'd love to hear from you which one resonated the most. I told you that for me, it was believing that I just needed more willpower and that healthy equaled fat loss. But no. So yeah, just let me know which one was your biggest mistakes. Okay? Now, I want to share something that I consider to be a major truth. It was definitely the truth in my case, and it is for most of my clients. What you know about dieting is totally wrong. Your cravings and impulses for junk food are not emotional, darling. They're physiological. Until we understand what's going on in our bodies when we eat specific foods, we're setting ourselves up to fail over and over again. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that very frustrating. It feels like everything you've done has been so wasted, and yet the truth of it is so much easier than the restrictions or the supplements that are constantly thrown at us, or the shakes, right? Ugh. And it's okay for you to be frustrated about that right now too. I still get mad about it. I get mad about it for your sake, for the women who are still spending a fortune on pills and shakes and programs that simply don't work. Okay? Now, let's get into what I call the mind-blowing background so I can teach you exactly what does work and why. And this is the secret to how food works and how to make sense of macronutrients and fat. You ready? Okay. Now, I'll try and keep it as simple and unsciencey as possible, but remember that if you ever come up with any questions, you can always get in touch with me. Just type it in the chat and I'll make sure to answer it. Okay? So there are 3 macronutrients. All food is made up of 3 macronutrients, the ones that you see in front of you. So we've got fat, protein, or carbohydrates. And foods are either one of these or a combination of these 3 or 2. These macros are used for different things in our bodies as well. And it's really important that we understand exactly what they're used for to be able to pick the right foods to balance our blood sugar and hormones and get rid of those cravings and switch on our fat burning hormones. Okay, so let's start with fat. Fat is used for hormones. Fat has been super demonized in the past, and ladies, you need to eat fat to lose weight and to get rid of cravings. Okay, side note. So eating the right amount of fat alters your hormonal balance so you feel more energetic, less hungry, and you burn more calories. And fat is also essential for proper brain function, and it's used to make sure food is satisfying and that it keeps us feeling fuller longer. And when we strip food of all its fat, it's tasteless. So food manufacturers actually have to add all these fillers like sugars and artificial flavors to them to make them tasty again. And let's keep in mind that fat takes the longest to digest at about 3 to 4 hours. And also, fat does not raise your blood sugar. Okay? Now let's talk protein. We're more familiar with protein, and we've all heard and know it's good for you. Protein is structural, meaning it builds your skin, your hair, your nails, your immune system, your gut lining, etc. It's also really important for metabolism, as it's a highly thermogenic food. So it actually consumes a lot of energy when you metabolize it, okay? And proteins are big structures and they contain lots of molecules. And these molecules need to be broken down into single amino acids before they can be absorbed and used as building blocks for our body. So having protein throughout the day can really help your metabolism and help you feel full for longer periods of time. And let's note that protein digests a bit quicker than fat at about 2 to 3 hours. Now let's talk carbs. Carbohydrates break down into quick energy. So they basically digest down into sugar, glucose, which is the easiest thing your body can use for energy. And it's the body's preferred source of energy. And now when broken down, carbohydrates reach our bloodstream in the form of glucose. They elevate our blood sugar, okay? And this is where you can follow that red line in the graph. So it goes up because we've eaten a carbohydrate. So our blood glucose, our blood sugar is elevated. And when our blood sugar goes up, it triggers the secretion of insulin. And insulin then comes and it picks up the glucose or sugar molecules and transports them to the working muscles to be used for energy. So the red line in the graph drops because the glucose is leaving the blood, insulin is taking it to the muscles. Now you can also see that the red line dips below the starting point. And this is because when we eat too many carbs at once, it raises our blood sugar really quickly. And then insulin comes in just as quickly to take it all to the working muscles so it can be used for energy. The problem is that it's a lot of energy being delivered all at once. And when all that energy is attempting delivery, the muscles turn it away because they don't really need all that energy. Because we've just been sitting at our desk all day or in the car or on the sofa watching Netflix. Okay? So insulin does what insulin does best, and it stores that energy as fat for you to use later. Now, not only have we stored that food as fat, which is really annoying, but also because all of that energy, so all of that sugar and glucose was sent to the blood at once, it was all stored at once. And as a consequence, our blood sugar is now too low. And this, ladies, is when you feel groggy, lightheaded, you feel tired, okay? You want to crawl under your desk and the good old cravings kick in again. But your body is very smart and very adaptive. When you experience low blood sugar, which is not good for us, your body causes you to crave the thing that's going to build your blood sugar up as quickly as possible, which is its preferred source of energy. Any guesses? We just learned it. It's carbohydrates. So then the whole process starts over again. And that's what I call the blood sugar roller coaster. So to wrap up carbs, they digest very, very quickly when compared to fat and protein. They basically give you quick energy and digest within 20 to 40 minutes. Okay? So if you keep those three things in mind, that will help you when you're looking at macros going forward. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but as I mentioned earlier, this is not a science course, so I'm not going to go into that right now or into more right now, okay? So this is what I call big revelation number one. If fat storage is driven by hormones like insulin, like we just learned, and we know that different macros or different foods cause different hormones to be in control, we can use that knowledge to pick our foods according to our goals, okay? Now, with that in mind, you can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief now. We're done the background on food. You now know enough to keep going and keep up with me as we actually go through the steps that I've put together for smarter fat loss. The reason why we're here, right? Okay, you ready? Now, if you have any questions, you can get in touch with me, type them in the chat. But let's move forward because I don't want to keep up too much of your time. So now that we've gotten through that, can you start to see how the entire low calorie, no fat, little salad mentality is the complete opposite of how to eat for fat loss? Okay? Yeah. And think about the foods that you thought were good for fat loss that you are now rethinking. Okay, mine was granola and fruit, and of course skim milk or like low-fat yogurt. So I thought they were the healthiest breakfast in the world for fat loss. And now, fortunately, I know better. Okay, so let's move on to the 3 steps to smarter fat loss without giving up chocolate. Step number 1. You need to completely eradicate the whole willpower myth, and you need to understand that it's not willpower. It's the underlying blood sugar and inflammation issues. Let me explain. I like using the analogy of the elephant and the rider, which I read about in this great book called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. So picture yourself, okay? Picture yourself standing. Now, picture yourself next to an elephant. I bet you suddenly feel really small and powerless next to that big elephant. Now, let's say that you are willpower. And let's say that the big, strong elephant is blood sugar and your hormones. When riding that elephant, as the rider, you like to think you're calling the shots. And you know what? With an agreeable elephant, you are. But what happens when that elephant decides to do the opposite of what you want? Or what happens when you get so tired of working really hard all day to control that elephant? That elephant will do what it wants to do because the elephant can overpower a rider hands down any day. Now, when we think of willpower, we generally don't think about that elephant ultimately calling the shots. But that's what's happening. Willpower will never, ever win against blood sugar and hormones. Now, isn't hearing that really great? I mean, think about it. You're off the hook. It's not your fault. Wouldn't that just feel unreal to let yourself off the hook and also see results? Okay. So we've already talked a bit about blood sugar in our mind-blowing background, and I think you've got a grasp on that now, and we'll go even deeper into blood sugar in the next step, but it's enough to say that in order to balance blood sugar, we need to pay attention to the 3 real food groups, the macros, right? And keep them in balance. Now let's talk about inflammation because it's huge. You have to get rid of inflammation. I was making a critical mistake every other time I attempted to lose weight, and that's before I even picked the diet to try. You see, I was ignoring the fact that I was inflamed, and that's a weight loss killer. Actually, if I'm completely honest with you, I wasn't ignoring it per se. I didn't even know inflammation was a thing. And you probably don't either. Or, I mean, you do, but you don't realize how interconnected inflammation is with fat storage. And this is pretty crazy, so I'm going to start by explaining it. So what exactly is inflammation, you might be asking? Inflammation is when your body is reactive and irritated and attempting to flush fluids and resources to an area as a reaction. So we have acute inflammation, which is normal, and it's a process that helps restore balance and healing after an injury or illness. So if you've got, like, my cats like to scratch me, so I get scabs on the back of my hands, and when they're healing, they get red and a bit puffy, okay? So That's acute inflammation, which is great because it's helping me heal. It's helping my skin heal. Now, chronic inflammation is bad news. And it's very often caused by the foods we are eating and we don't even realize are irritating us. Okay? So, what does inflammation do? Well, it causes us to be puffy and retain excess fluid, which makes us feel and look fatter to begin with. Secondly, it worsens your insulin resistance, meaning your body needs to make more. Insulin is your fat storage hormone, and we'll learn that in the next step, or as I mentioned before already. So this is not good. The more insulin you have, the more fat you store. And inflammation also causes a hormone called leptin to be less effective. Leptin is a hormone that makes you feel full. So when you're inflamed, your hunger can be out of control and you never quite feel satisfied. And this, of course, makes you eat more. And since there's so much insulin available to store fat, guess what happens? So finally, as if inflammation wasn't bad enough, fat cells actually become little inflammation factories. Meaning, not only is inflammation making us gain more weight and look bigger, but the weight we gain actually increases inflammation. Talk about a vicious cycle, eh? So I know it's not funny, but it happens. And it's happening to you right now, probably. So if you can get rid of inflammation, big things happen. Bloating goes way down, so you feel thinner right away. Your clothes will fit better. You aren't puffy. Being inflamed, it kills your energy. So when you deal with inflammation, when you get rid of it, your energy goes way up. This is one of the first things I hear from my clients before they even notice weight loss. Their energy skyrockets. And it's one of the most common comments that I get from new clients it's like, oh my God, I can't, I've got so much energy. I just get through the day so well. So this is huge for managing afternoon cravings as well. Also, you sleep better. So you have more energy during the day, but then you sleep better at night and your skin actually also becomes clearer. Another common comment I get from my clients. So basically, as you can see, cleaning up inflammation is a huge deal. And without doing that, you can't make much progress in lasting fat loss. And that makes sense, right? Okay. So here we go. This is my client testimonials right after they get rid of inflammation, which is the first thing that we do in the Smarter Fat Loss System. So this is one of my clients. She said, today I woke up full of energy and I cleaned my kitchen ceiling because she had so much energy. She had already done everything else. It's like, well, I have so much energy. Let me just clean the kitchen ceiling now because I don't know what else to do with it. And here my next client says, thanks, I'm down 8 pounds from the time I started your detox, because we do an anti-inflammatory detox before we even look at the Smarter Fat Loss System. And the testimonial on the right from my client Romina, at the bottom she says, she says, the most remarkable thing of all is how I no longer feel like sleeping during the day. I wanted to take a nap because I was so bored and I couldn't close my eyes. Okay. So this is what happens when you get rid of inflammation. Now, here's the trick. So how do we achieve this? What's the trick to losing fat without willpower? We get blood sugar and inflammation caused by our diets under control before we even start a fat loss program. Boom. You're set up for success, darling. So that's step 1. Deal with the blood sugar and inflammation first. So you start out with reduced cravings, inches lost, and increased energy. Okay, think about that. How different is that from any other diet you have tried in the past? What would your life be like without cravings? That's another big thing, right? Okay, so that was a big one, step number one. Now, step number two is to flip the switch over to fat burning mode by changing up the hormones in charge. Now, I've alluded over and over to fat being stored or released according to hormones. So let's explain this a little bit further. I'm going to give you as simplified an explanation as I can. There are a lot of hormones and factors that work together with fat storage or release, but we're just going to focus on the two main hormonal players to keep it simple. Now, let's first talk a little bit about how fat actually works, because this is going to be helpful. Body fat actually evolved as a way for us to survive periods of famine, okay? So basically, when we evolved, we were generally in a situation where food was available all the time, or we were in a situation where no food was available. Because our bodies are smart and adaptive, they figured out a way to take that energy from food when it was readily available and store it away for when it wasn't. Just think like winter and summertime, right? Like food abundance, and then there's no food. And the solution to this was fat cells. Your body uses fat cells as storage lockers to put away extra energy. Now you can literally think of fat as leftovers pushed to the back of the fridge. That's pretty easy to remember, right? So in order to pack away the leftovers, your body relies on specific hormones to call the shots instead of Tupperware. And in order to use these leftovers, a different set of hormones comes in and makes that happen. Now let's talk about these two hormones, as they are two very important power players. The first of these two hormones is insulin. Okay, we've all heard of it before, not just now, but you're all familiar with insulin. But you'll forever look at it in a different way after this, I promise. So as I mentioned, insulin is a power hormone. It's released from the pancreas in response to sugar entering the blood, and it moves that sugar or that glucose from the blood to the cells to be used for energy. When the cells are not in need of energy, remember we talked about this in the carbs before, we're not in need of energy because we've been sitting at our desk all day, insulin then tells the liver to convert excess sugar to fat so the body can store it for later use. And that makes insulin our fat storing hormone. Now, glucagon is the second power player. Unlike insulin, you've probably never heard of glucagon before, but it's actually your best friend. Glucagon acts directly opposite to insulin and is responsible for breaking down stored fat and carbohydrates and using them for energy. So glucagon and insulin are counterparts, which means they're like opposite ends of a teeter-totter. When insulin is high, glucagon is low, and vice versa. So this is huge. The type of foods you eat directly impacts whether insulin or glucagon is high. The type of food you eat is directly responsible for either building up those storage lockers or for helping to empty them. And this revelation is big, right? Calories are not the be-all and end-all. Calories have no impact on these hormones whatsoever. Isn't this really cool information? Don't you find this just mind-blowing after all those years of counting calories and only reading the calorie component of the label? I know I sure did, and I honestly still do. Like, I love doing this. I love sharing this because my mind is blown every time I share it. So to summarize, when insulin is released into the blood, you cannot burn fat, my dear. Okay? So things should be making a little bit more sense now. They should be coming together. And you should be able to start to see that healthy foods, quote unquote, may not be healthy for every goal. Let's use a few examples. This first one is unrelated to fat loss, but it's a really good illustration of this point. So, kale. Kale is healthy, right? The mighty kale. It's a superfood, right? I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Now, what about someone who has severe IBS, inflammatory bowel syndrome? For that person, kale is actually extremely unhealthy because it's so rough. It actually irritates the intestine and causes a flare-up in a ton of people. So yes, kale is healthy. It has all these vitamins and minerals and fiber. It's green. It doesn't taste great. But it's not healthy for, say, Jen, who has severe IBS. Does that make sense? Okay. So now let's bring it back here. Oatmeal is healthy, right? Steel cut oats, lots of B vitamins, fiber, sure. But is oatmeal great for fat loss? Mainly carbs, low fat, so it leads to blood sugar instability. In this case, I'd say no. So healthy food, yes, but not ideal for your current goal. And you need to use this lens to look at all of these quote unquote healthy foods that you've been eating, thinking they support fat loss. You also need to look through this lens at the quote unquote unhealthy foods you've been avoiding, like fats. Make sense? Okay. Whew. Great, right? I love it. So now let's move on to step number 3. We now have blood sugar managed, so we can start to see actual fat loss. After that, we moved on to hormonal fat burning and using the right foods to make sure that happens. Step number 3 is to stop sabotaging ourselves by making the biggest mistake when it comes to fat loss. You have to eat more to burn fat. That means you have to stop falling for the latest or even the oldest fad diets. I'm going to tell you something. Weight loss on these diets is almost always due to calorie restriction. Calorie restriction is dangerous because your body can't keep it up forever. So eventually it has to end. Also, when you restrict your calories, your metabolism follows suit and declines over time. And when you start eating a regular amount of food again, it doesn't just come back up. It doesn't just speed back up because you decided to eat more. And this is why the rebound weight effect is so huge. So you gain it all back again and more. So there are basically 2 things to blame for this. Let's talk a bit about the most popular diets and why exactly they've failed you. I'm assuming if you're on this webinar, listening to this, you've experienced at least one of these or more. So culprit number 1, let's start with Weight Watchers type diets. Now, I love Oprah, and I make no secret of that, but I don't love Weight Watchers. With Weight Watchers, you track your food according to a points system. This is basically the first stop for most women. It seems pretty simple. It's pretty inexpensive. And we all know someone who's lost a bunch of weight on Weight Watchers, at least for some time. But I hate to break it to you, but they just changed the word calories for points. All Weight Watchers is calorie restriction. The problem with that is that you're focusing on the part of weight loss which has the smallest effect. It also means as soon as you stop counting points, you're totally lost because you haven't actually changed what you eat. You've just restricted it down to less than you actually need. And I'm sure have you been on Weight Watchers before? Usually like half of the people that listen to this webinar have been on Weight Watchers. Okay, so you can probably relate to this. Now, let's run through an actual scenario though. Let's say that you want to lose 20 pounds. You're currently eating 2,000 calories a day, and with that, you're maintaining your current weight. You might not be where you want to be with your weight, but you're maintaining it. That means if you decrease your caloric intake to 1,500 calories a day, you're going to have less calories coming in than you're burning, and you will lose weight, right? And yes, you will. Well, at least at first, you'll lose a few pounds. And this is when you start to think, oh my God, this diet works. But here's the thing, like I keep saying, your body is super smart and super adaptive. Its goal is to keep you alive. And less calories in than out means eventual starvation. So your body actually adjusts the amount of energy you use on daily activities. In other words, it adjusts your metabolism. And so now instead of burning 2,000 calories a day, it's now only burning 1,500 calories a day. So you stop losing weight. You get frustrated. So you go ahead and you eat less again. Now you're eating 1,200 calories a day. But the same thing happens, and so on and so forth. Metabolic downregulation is very real. And it also takes a very long time for your metabolism to bounce back to where it started. Okay? And we also can't keep it up indefinitely. And eventually, we'll go back to eating those 2,000 calories. And the brutal part is that now that you've trained your body to eat less, you're only burning 1,200 calories a day. So on the exact same amount of food you started out eating and maintaining, now you're eating and gaining, right? So that, in a nutshell, is why calorie restriction just doesn't work. Now, the last culprit, is basically the eat less and exercise more approach. And this is probably the worst offender, because in this one, you're not only down regulating because you're taking in less energy than you need consistently, but in this case, you're actually causing muscle damage as well, and then not providing your body with the raw materials to repair those muscles. Okay? Any exercise leads to muscle damage. This is normal. This is what happens. It's not a bad thing. The bad thing is just if you're not fueling your body after to help it recover, because this results in less lean muscle in your body, which is a huge problem because lean muscle is metabolically active. And that means that when you're just hanging out, lounging on the sofa, watching Netflix or existing, the muscles in your body are constantly burning calories. Fat tissue does not. It's dead tissue, kinda. So if you have less muscle, you're burning less energy and you're reducing your metabolism. See why this is such a huge problem? A lot of women, when they hit their 50s, around like give or take a few years, actually have more problems losing weight, first of all, because they've down-regulated their metabolism throughout the years by cutting calories, but also because they lose a lot of muscle mass over the years because we stop moving enough, okay? So, and this is in general, right? A lot of you ladies tell me that you're frustrated because you eat less and you exercise more, but still see no results. And this is why. And now that you have this key information, you can assess pretty much any plan out there and see if it's actually just calorie restriction in disguise. And if it is, do yourself the favor and stay far, far away from it this time. Whew. Now we've been through a lot of information here. So I want to quickly recap the 3 steps to faster, smarter fat loss for you so that it's not all muddled. Okay? So first, step 1, Start to balance blood sugar and reduce inflammation to get rid of cravings and start real fat loss. Second, flip the metabolic switch from fat storing to fat burning mode by using the right macros. Create balanced meals so blood sugar is stable and the fat burning hormones are in the driver's seat. Third, avoid the biggest problem most women have: calorie restriction. Make sure you're eating enough. And I can't emphasize this enough. Now let's recap why you showed up today. You showed up because you want to fit into your favorite clothes again without having to give up chocolate or go to bed hungry. You want a simpler way to lose fat without having to spend hours of doing mind-numbing exercise at the gym. And you want to stop feeling uncomfortable and gross in your own skin. And you want to lose fat so you can feel confident and reclaim your energy. And I love sharing this lovely testimonial from my dearest mama. She says, I finally feel like myself again. No more hiding from the camera or feeling insecure when I look at myself in the mirror or down at my toes. And all I saw was my belly fat. And trust me, it was really easy for my mom to hide behind the camera because she's got 4 kids and 6 grandchildren. So she would just scooch to the back of the group, right? And my mom is over 60. So it worked for her, okay? She says, I tried it all, eating healthy. I tried all the herbs, the doctors, and all I had to do was listen to my daughter and follow her simple advice. Yay, I love you, Mama. Isn't she the cutest? And this is from Valerie. She says, this has become the lifestyle change I wanted. And she actually, this image, I woke up to this image one morning. She sent it to me. And she says, I had to share, I have not gotten below 155 in forever. I think my lowest was 153. My goal is 140. I can't believe my eyes. And actually, Valerie's running a half marathon next weekend, so super pumped for that. It all starts with one step, and I finally took the right step with this program. Yay. So at the beginning of this training, I made you a promise. I promised that you're going to leave this webinar knowing exactly how food and fat loss works so you can start losing fat right away. No magic pills or stomach growls involved. Now, here's a thing I want you to remember. Everything I've shared with you today isn't some random theory or some idea that I think might work for you. Everything I walked you through today works. It works for me, and it's worked for my clients, who all started from a similar spot you are in right now. I'm not different, and they're not different. We all have busy lives, families, work. We have ambition, goals, everything, a social life. And if they can do it, I'm certain that you can do it too. You already know that you can achieve lasting weight loss as long as you have accountability and a plan to follow. So you're halfway there already. Now you have a choice. You can give it one more try on your own, but lovingly be honest with yourself. Are you really prepared to put in the time, the energy, and the effort to create your own system? Are you okay with the trial and error taking time? Are you okay with doing it alone and turning to Google when you need help? And be honest with yourself and answer these questions. Maybe you are, and maybe that route will work for you. But the reality is, for most of us, that's not usually the route that will bring success. And you can look at, how things have been in the past. I have a lot of women that say, I've been struggling with this for 20 years. It's like, you don't want to go down that path again. So the other choice is that you can take what you learned here today. You decide to take action. You actually learn to work with your body instead of against it. You lower your insulin and you increase your glucagon. You quit dealing with willpower altogether, and you can quit failing. You lose weight, you lose it consistently, you keep it off, and you get help when you get stuck. The choice is yours. Now, if it's okay with you, I would love to take a couple of minutes to share how I can best help you. Okay? Type yes in the comments if that's okay with you. My job is to give you the right information so that you can lose weight without all the struggle. So would that be okay? All right, I'm getting the hands. Okay, thank you. So now I'm really honored and excited to be sharing this opportunity with you, because the best way I can help you is by personally supporting each and every one of you. So what I've done is I've set aside some time over the next few days to speak with you personally about how I can best support you to apply what we talked about today so that you can finally lose weight and keep it off within 3 months. And I do that with a call, and I call it the Weight Loss Breakthrough Call. And the best part is that in our 45-minute weight loss breakthrough call, you will gain so much confidence because you'll be able to see how this system, this framework works so well that you'll be asking yourself how this call is free, especially because it's 45 minutes. Well, it is. And here's what to do next. So use the link below the video to schedule your 45-minute weight loss breakthrough call with me right now. So this is what it'll look like when you get over to my online scheduler, when you click the link. Once you're here, you'll notice the days with available times are marked blue. The gray ones indicate that there's no times available. So click on the day that best suits you to see the actual times available. And that'll show you the availability for that day specifically. I have put aside a very limited number of hours for this, and I want to highlight that. So the longer you wait, the less options you'll have. And after you schedule your call, you'll be sent an email notification. And I strongly urge you, even though you get the notification, I strongly urge you to mark your calendar, as you'll likely forget and miss out on this opportunity. And it sucks for me too, I'll be honest, as I'll be setting time aside to talk to you, and I'll be calling you, and you'll be taking that time away from somebody else. So please do mark your calendar so that you can show up. And if you can't make it, just let me know. Okay, there's no call center making this call. It'll be you and me. And the calls are done over the phone. I'll contact you at the start time of the call. Easy peasy. Now that you've seen how to schedule your weight loss breakthrough call with me, I want to cover a couple of specifics so you have a better understanding, okay? So on the call, we'll get clear on your specific goal. We'll get clear on what is getting in the way of you achieving it and any self-sabotage that might be happening. And this way, by the time that the call is over, you'll leave with helpful strategies that propel your success. Does that sound good? Okay. Yes. So here's the important thing to know. This call is 100% free. I don't need a credit card for down payment, nothing. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Natalie, there must be a catch to this. You just told me all of the ways you're going to help me, so why is this call free? First of all, the call is free because this is my mission in life. Literally, my life's work is to support women who want to lose weight, be good to their bodies, and not have to starve themselves, and they're willing to put in the work. I have a core value in my business where I offer value first. I start off just by helping you with this webinar and with the call. I know that I can help you overcome some of the barriers that have been stopping you from achieving your desired weight in a super short period of time. And second, I know that there are many of you listening that want more personalized support and accountability. And if you're someone who knows that you've put in the work, but that in order for you to succeed, you need a system, you need guidance, we can discuss next steps on the call to determine if you are a right fit for the Smarter Fat Loss System. And if not, that's completely okay too. You'll get to leave the call with so much value, clarity, and confidence, and of course, we'll part as friends. There's no obligation, zero. Okay? But so there is one thing, there is one catch that I got to bring to your attention. If you're looking for a quick fix or a magic pill, so to speak, a way to lose weight where you don't care if it supports the overall well-being of your body, this call isn't for you. Okay, then I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste my time with it. This call is also not for you if you like to blame things on others and you don't believe that you're in charge of your own well-being. If you're looking for a quick fix or a magic pill, if you're not willing to follow a system that's laid out for you. If you're not committed to make the time for change, if you're not open-minded to a new way of doing things, and if you're not ready to put yourself first, then this is not for you. I can promise you that. Look, I know that this system works. I've shown you examples throughout this training of some of my clients who have had success, and there's a reason that they've lost weight. My clients were committed to their goals. And I want success so bad for my clients and for you, but I can't be the only one putting in the effort. And that's key. I 100% believe and know that when you do commit to your goals using the system, then you will achieve success. So the first step is to schedule a weight loss breakthrough call. And if you're someone who wants to lose weight and keep it off, and if you're ready to commit, then this call is for you. So it's for you if you're ready to stop doing all of the things that don't work or the things you think you should do and focus on the proven system that does work instead. And it's for you if you know that the road to success isn't straight. Even with a system, it's windy, but you are committed. And it's for you if you want to learn about blood sugar, hormones, inflammation, and all that jazz that nobody has told you about before, but that is essential for your success. Okay? And it's for you if you're coachable and if you ask for support and accountability. And if you're tired of trying things that don't work and are done getting short-term results that lead you to believe something works, but they're not really working. Okay? So even if you've tried eating less and exercising more, if you've tried Weight Watchers, if you tried using willpower to overcome your cravings, if you're done with eating healthy and being hungry and not seeing any results, then this call is for you. So click on the link below, head on over to the online calendar to secure your weight loss breakthrough call right now, because there is a very big difference between trying to figure this out on your own and working with an expert who has a track record of success. Okay? All right. So thank you so much for attending, taking the time to attend the webinar. If you have questions, you can always get in touch with me before. Let's see, I don't have my email address here, but I'll leave it below. Always get in touch with me. You know, you can reach me through Facebook, you can reach me through Instagram, you can reach me through info@nataliesnutrition.ca. That's where you can, ask all your questions. All right. So I really, really look forward to having you schedule that call and to talk to you one-on-one where you can, we can provide you with that clarity that you so much need right now. All right. Have a wonderful day, ladies.